you just can't look at the first 71 days. Like, the only people who have been served by the first 71 days of Trump and who are thinking, man, this is exactly what I want, is like super online MAGA troll posters who are just like happy that Andrew Tate is back in the country, and they're happy that, you know, the media is mad, and like they don't, you know what I mean? Like, nothing, their life hasn't gotten any better, but they just, all they want is the suffering of liberals, right? Like, or the, and they want to win this imaginary war that they're in online, and they feel like they're winning now.
In this clip, Tim Miller of the Bulwark goes on MSNBC to talk about a variety of current subjects, from Donald Trump to Pete Hegseth to Elon Musk, the first 71 days of this administration. I'd like to watch this video with you, and then I will have thoughts that I will add, and then I want to know what you think in the comments. Let's check it out.
Come back to Hegseth with you and what is perhaps being set up today, Tim Miller. Someone who isn't the person Donald Trump thought that he was. Donald Trump thought that the person who was entering confirmation hearings today was a person who walked up to him, and in Trump's telling, it sounded like he slurred something about being willing to die for him and then put on a red hat. The nominee says that never happened, or at least it never happened with him. So this is not who Trump thought he was selecting. But more importantly, he's going to go to work for a Secretary of Defense in an hour of crisis. This is from the New York Times opinion page today. Quote, why did Hegseth or his fellow officials fail to notice a stranger on the text chain? Even if we make allowances for that mistake, he committed a more novice error. Providing minutia on an air attack to the most senior officials in the federal government via text message is as unnecessary as it is reckless. To some current and former military officers who read through the conversation, Hegseth appeared to be acting more like a junior officer, boasting to superiors, than the secretary in charge of overseeing the mission's execution. It's difficult to imagine that two of his recent predecessors, Jim Mattis or Lord Austin, who retired 6 ranks above Hegseth as 4-star generals, would have copy and pasted such details onto a publicly available app.
Yeah, it's interesting those experts put it like that. I had Susan Rice, who was Obama's national security advisor, so the Mike Waltz job, on the podcast today, and asked her, like, essentially that question, right? Which is, like you, Nicole, I'm not somebody who's been on high-level military planning chats, but that, just his tone jumped out to me as well. And I asked her about that. I was like, is this the type of thing that Leon Panetta or Bob Gates would have been sharing? And you know, Susan Rice was just like appalled. I mean, absolutely not. The tone was off. The platform was off, obviously. You know, something that strikes me listening to that testimony there from Dan Kane, you know, he said there wasn't anybody from the military on that chat because it was a partisan political chat. And so, to me, if that's true, it's like, okay, well, so the Secretary of Defense was sharing the exact time we are going to drop certain bombs on a partisan political chat, you know, with other folks. And obviously now we know with Jeffrey Goldberg on there. And it's just unbelievable recklessness. I think it reflects somebody who knows that he's a weekend TV host, who's trying to impress the other people on the chat and putting people at danger, in danger by doing so. And, you know, look, during that testimony, General Kane was obviously, you know, not going out of his way to criticize the administration, but it was very, I mean, you didn't have to read very hard between the lines to see that he was essentially saying, no, this was totally inappropriate. And I think it is, I guess, on balance, it's better that someone like that will be in the room, but it is alarming that he's going to have to be reporting to somebody like Pete Hegseth, who was obviously unqualified on its face and who's demonstrated so in like the only conversation we've seen. Who knows all the other ways he's been reckless and conversations that he hasn't accidentally put Jeffrey Goldberg on.
You can't manufacture that which is grassroots and organic, and you can't stifle that which is grassroots and organic. And what John Helm is talking about is grassroots and organic. It's just in the water. It's out there. People are showing up at town halls. It's showing up anecdotally, and it is And we heard it in those clips. It is anger about the economy. It is feeling sort of fooled or deceived about the outsized role Elon Musk would play. And it is the pig-headedness about tariffs. I think that even Trump's base understood the tariffs as a negotiating. I think Trump has this conversation with his own voters that we don't always key in on. But I think even some of his own voters think the conversation around tariffs was that it was a negotiating tactic to strike better deals, not that it would make literally every product at Walmart and Target more expensive.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Nicole. I like your first observation there is just spot on. Like, what is Grassroots and Organic that has worked for MAGA in the past has been mostly like the force of Donald Trump, right? That doesn't land for any of us, but it does motivate people to turn out and vote. There's not been any evidence to date that that's transferable to Elon Musk, and possibly the opposite, actually. I think that Elon Musk is, as John points out, motivating opposition to this administration, motivating people to turn out, as we heard from some of those in that clip. And I think that we're going to see that particularly in Wisconsin tonight, where he had the biggest footprint, and maybe a little less so in that Florida 6th district congressional race. But as far as people being disappointed, you just can't look at the first 71 days. Like, the only people who have been served by the first 71 days of Trump and who are thinking, man, this is exactly what I want, is like super online MAGA troll posters who are just like happy that Andrew Tate is back in the country, and they're happy that the media is mad, and like they don't, you know what I mean, like nothing, their life hasn't gotten any better, but they just, all they want is the suffering of liberals, right? Like, and they want to win this imaginary war that they're in online, and they feel like they're winning now. Like, those are the only people who are in their basement posting onto X that have been served by this administration. If you were just a regular MAGA American who thought that, you wanted prices to be lower, like, you haven't gotten anything so far.
I think that's right on the money. I mean, look at some of these clips of the town halls. You can certainly feel it, and whether or not people are willing to admit it always publicly, the vibe is extremely disgruntled.
I mean, I listened in to some of what Senator Cory Booker was saying at the top of the hour, and this is raw. There will be clips of this that will live in places where people don't tune in to a lot of, as John said, a lot of what has been reduced to stunts and showmanship and shallow, and on the Republican side, disingenuous efforts at things like congressional hearings, where Republicans today sat at the story that we started with, Tim. They sat before a nominee and didn't have anything to say about whether or not an insecure online app that included a journalist was something that he would sound the alarm on or call Congress if he were ever included on one with Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. What are sort of your questions or your thoughts on this moment from Cory Booker today?
Yeah. Here's what I think. I think another thing that people don't like to say on these kinds of shows is that we are very bad at predicting the future. We don't know what will resonate long term. That's not something a pundit is supposed to say, but that's just true. And so my continued message over these first 71 days to Democrats has been, try stuff, show emotion. You don't know what the spark will be that will get people out of their chairs and into the streets and into the voting booths tonight in Wisconsin and Florida. We don't know. Everyone would have said it's ridiculous that Rick Santelli's rant on CNBC will be the thing that people remember from the Tea Party. Nobody would have predicted that. Nobody would have predicted Obama or Trump, right? So go out there, show that you care, show your passion, show you have emotion, and something will spark, because, the administration is doing too bad of a job of governing for nothing to spark in response to them. The nation's soul is not totally black. And so maybe this will be it from Cory Booker, and I'm happy that he's out there doing it.
I hope that he's right, and I certainly don't disagree with Cory Bush. I'm glad people are speaking up. I think we need to be making more noise. I'm glad people are taking to the streets. My bigger concern is about timing, and will it be enough quickly enough? Because with these executive orders Trump has signed about changing the way we handle elections in this country and centralizing it, and specifically handing that to Doge, it seems to me that the end game is very clear there. So if we all make our voices heard and it doesn't matter, then we've still lost. Let me know what you think in the comments.